in the media, but actually it's about you.
And we won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear
All sides.
as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's election channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday,
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
on election night, we are throwing a party.
The GB News Election Night Watch Party will be live from Essex and you are all invited.
On air from 10 o'clock, we'll have familiar faces from across the channel, entertainment and lots more stuff as we keep our eye on all the results as they come flying in.
If you want to join our live Election Night Watch Party audience, scan the QR code on screen or go to gbnews.com/election party.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to GB News Sunday. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend out there. Thank you for joining us this lunchtime. I'm Dawn Neeson, and for the next 2 hours, lucky you, keeping you company on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up this hour, really cracking show for you. Top Conservative official is taking a leave of absence amid new election betting allegations in yet another fresh blow for Rishi Sunak as the whole affair is now being compared to Partygate. Can the Tories really get their campaign back on track? And then a power cut has caused chaos. See the scenes there at Manchester Airport with all flights from Terminals 1 and 2 being cancelled. We'll be there live to bring you the update on that breaking story. And is folk music too white? Yeah, we're here again. One university has been given more than £1 million to investigate how to decolonise the art form. But this show is nothing without you and your views. So let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/your say. I remember now, it's amazing. And join the conversation or message me on our socials at GB News. But first, let's get the news headlines. It's once again the lovely Tatiana.
Dawn, thank you. A fourth Conservative is reportedly being looked into by the Gambling Commission over bets allegedly placed on the date of the general election. The Conservative Party's Chief Data Officer, Nick Mason, has taken a leave of absence, according to reports, amid claims he placed bets on the timing of the election. The Tories' Director of Campaigns, Tony Lee, and his wife, Laura Saunders, are also being probed, as is the Prime Minister's Parliamentary Private Secretary, Craig Williams, who's admitted to an error of judgment. Home Secretary James Cleverly says he shares the Prime Minister's views on the betting scandal.
My view has always been the case that people in government should focus on delivering for the people of this country. People who are officials of the party should be focused on returning as many Conservative MPs as possible so we can form a government so that we can serve the British people. And anything other than that is inappropriate.
The Labour leader has suggested that benefits offer less dignity to people than earning a living through work. Sir Keir Starmer took aim at handouts from the state in a piece for the Sunday Telegraph. He added, serving the interests of working people means understanding they want success more than state support. His changed stance on welfare comes as the latest Savanta opinion poll in the Telegraph newspaper shows Labour retaining its electoral lead over the Conservatives. The poll has Labour on 42% of the vote and the Conservative Party on 19%. But Shadow Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson says that it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
know that there are, a significant proportion of voters who haven't made their minds up. And in 175 seats, different polling points to the fact that those seats are just too close to call, so they could go either way. It could well be a couple hundred votes in either direction that could shape the outcome of that. And I'd just say if people want to turn a page on all the chaos and division that we've had over the last 14 years, then they have to vote for it. They have to make it happen. It's not enough just to will it.
Sir Ed Davey says the public has lost faith in the ability of ambulance services to meet emergency call-out targets, which he's described as a scandal. The Liberal Democrats have pledged £50 million for an emergency fund to support ambulance trusts in an effort to restore public confidence that a 999 call will get the emergency treatments they need. The pledge comes as new analysis of NHS data by the party found just over 85,500 Category 2 call-outs and over 27,500 Category 1 call-outs are estimated to miss their targets before polling day. These categories include strokes and heart attacks. All flights from 2 Manchester airport terminals have been cancelled after a major power cut. It's caused huge queues and disruption to baggage processing. It's understood the power issues also affected a number of other buildings close to the airport. Manchester Airport has said all flights from Terminals 1 and 2 are being cancelled until further notice. And passengers due to travel from those terminals are being advised not to come to the airport and to stay in touch with their airlines. A search operation in Tenerife for a missing British teenager has now entered its 7th day. Jay Slater went missing after he travelled for a music festival to the Spanish island on what was his first holiday without his parents. His mother issued a direct plea yesterday, saying, "We just need you home." And just before he went missing on Monday, 19-year-old Jay called a friend saying he was lost and needed water. A yellow heat health alert has been issued for most of England as temperatures are set to hit 30 degrees in parts of the country. The alert, issued jointly by the UK Health Security Agency and the Met Office, comes into force from tomorrow morning and will remain in place until late Thursday afternoon. Areas affected are the South East, with the strongest warnings issued for that region, the East Midlands, the East of England and East Anglia. Scotland are getting ready to take on Hungary in their final Group A game of the Euros football tournament this evening. Thousands of Scottish fans are getting into the mood in Germany, singing their way into tonight's game, and not even rain can dampen the Tartan Army's spirits. And for good reason, as Scotland's clash with Hungary could see their team reach the knockout stage of a major tournament for the very first time. Critics didn't give the injury-hit Scotland much of a hope after their 5-1 opening thrashing by hosts Germany in Munich. But a 1-1 draw with the Swiss has placed them within reach of qualification. And some not-so-good news for tennis fans. Andy Murray will not play at Wimbledon this year after undergoing surgery on a spinal cyst. That news coming to us from the ATP Tour. The 37-year-old was hoping to make a farewell appearance at the tournament this summer, but he underwent surgery today after withdrawing from his second-round match against Jordan Thompson at Queen's earlier this week. And for the latest stories, you can sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen, or you can go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's back to Dawn.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. Looking lovely as always on this gorgeous sunny day. Now, let's get stuck into today's story, shall we? The Tory betting scandal is being compared to Partygate by none other than Michael Gove, as the Conservative Party's Chief Data Officer, Nick Mason, takes a leave of absence amid claims he placed bets on the timing of the general election. It comes as 4 others are reportedly being investigated by the Gambling Commission, including Laura Saunders, the wife of the Tories' campaign director. Craig Williams, another Conservative candidate, has also admitted to an error of judgment after placing a bet on when the election would take place. Ooh, right, joining me now is a GB News political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Catherine, hello, hi. Another day, another betting story for the Tories. What on earth is going on with that party?
Oh no, not another one, as that wise woman Brenda from Bristol once said about general elections. Yes, here we go again. There's now 4 Conservatives being investigated by the Gambling Commission over alleged bets that they made on the date of the general election shortly before that election was called. So we've got two Conservative candidates running for election. They're still running for the Conservatives at the moment. Rishi Sunak has not suspended them. One of them was married to the director of campaigns, who's taken a leave of absence. And now today we hear that the Conservatives' chief data officer is also under investigation and has also taken a leave of absence. These horrendous headlines for the Prime Minister just keep on coming. Less than 2 weeks out from the general election, he is visibly furious about this. And today, Michael Gove, the Levelling Up Secretary, who's not standing in the next election, has compared this to Partygate, which is really quite something. That's the sort of argument you would expect to hear from the opposition, another stick to beat the Conservatives with. But we've heard it from one of their own, because Michael Gove has said to the Sunday Times, it looks like one rule for them and one rule for us. That's the most potentially damaging thing. He said it's just not acceptable for those in privileged positions to use inside information to make additional money for yourself. And I think, this has huge cut through. Everybody understands that putting a bet on something, if you've got inside knowledge, is not okay. It's, just more bad news. The Conservatives at the beginning of this campaign, although they were 20 points behind, had some hope that the polls would tighten, that their policies would go down well, that things might change, that they might potentially be able to get to a hung parliament. But, nothing has changed for them really, apart from some self-inflicted disasters like D-Day. Now this, and of course, the reappearance of Nigel Farage and what that has done to Reform's poll ratings, which are increasingly beginning to beat that of the Conservatives. So, another really dreadful day for the Conservatives, and the Prime Minister, saying no, he's not going to suspend the candidates. There's an investigation ongoing. I think it's worth saying that he could do, but I guess he also doesn't know how far this goes. James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, was asked on GB News by Camilla Tominey if there's any cabinet ministers that had placed bets. He said, not to my knowledge, but it does feel like, every day pretty much somebody else is under investigation.
We'll wait for the headlines tomorrow, something I'm sure Rishi is not looking forward to. Catherine Forster, thank you very much for bringing us up to date on Betgate, as we can call it now, I think, after Cakegate. Why not Betgate? Right, let's see what my wonderful panel make of this. A great panel for you today. I'm joined by Mike Parry and JJ Anisiobi. Two very fine young men who are already complaining about the heat. Right, OK, you can stay here, right? Yeah. It's nice and cool in here, but don't you dare moan about the heat. I've been looking forward to this summer, all week of it. Right, OK. Now, let's talk about Betgate, shall we, boys? Yeah. I know you're a bit of a gambling man, Mr Parry, aren't you?
I'm not really, no. I only gamble... I only gamble on 2 horse races a year. That's the Grand National and the Epsom Derby, OK? And apart from that, I keep my money in my pocket because the bookie always wins. Yeah, well, congratulations. You should be a Tory MP, maybe. Right, OK. So what do we make of this now? Is this arrogance or is it stupidity coming from the Tory party at the moment? It's both. You see, when you look at the sums involved, £100 bet and odds... Not a lot. And so, stupidity and arrogance. The arrogant bit is, I know something nobody else knows. So I'm going to go into a betting shop and I'm going to put money on, and nobody knows what I know, and I'm so clever. But there is one allegation within the story as it unfolds that somebody was putting multiple bets on, and we stress they're all allegations. Yeah, these are all allegations. We have to be careful because there is a criminal investigation going on as well. Of course. But what I'm saying is, in the world of horse betting, which I've mixed with for years in my job as a sports reporter at all the big racetracks, you hear the stories all the time of people who will go to 6 different bookies in 6 different parts of the ground so that they don't drive the price down while they're putting money on something they think is a sure bet. And the other thing I'd say is also in my life as a sports reporter, I have seen footballers crash to the ground with debt because of the way they've been sucked into the betting world. So it's a very, very serious issue. But more than anything, I am absolutely disgusted with the stupidity of anybody close to government who even considered this, and the sheer arrogance that they thought they might get away with it.
This is the thing I can't get my head around, right, JJ? I mean, they're in trouble in their case, the Tory party. I think everybody knows that by now. So what does it say about the respect they have for A, their boss, Rishi Sunak, and B, the Conservative Party in general, let alone the voters, obviously?
I think if you look at the last 14 years, it's no surprise this is more Tory sleaze. It doesn't matter who the boss is, whether it's Sunak, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Cameron. The Tory party are now known as the party of sleaze. Whether it's Boris promoting Chris Pincher, amongst all the allegations of him being a sexual predator, Boris being told he's a sexual predator and saying, to hell with it, I'm going to promote him anyway, or whether it's Partygate, whether it's contracts for PPE going to their mates, they are a dodgy party. And it's no surprise to me that you have parties like Reform now, with Farage and Richard Tice coming forward, and we, the public, saying we'd rather have Farage and Richard Tice in charge than the corrupt government who continue to lie to us and continue to take us for mugs.
But is this worse than Partygate? That's what we're saying.
It is worse.
It is worse. Why would you say it's worse than Partygate? Because even though Partygate was, it was just a cake, it wasn't. It went much, much deeper than that. I think we'll all admit that now. So why is this worse? Because to me, Partygate was do as we say, not as we do. And that was annoying when people were losing their loved ones.
Absolutely. With Partygate, and I condemned the Tory party and Johnson for Partygate because my mother passed away with COVID during that period, and I was unable to go and see her in hospital, so I had to say goodbye to her over the telephone. I will never forgive Johnson for that.
JJ, I didn't even know that.
However, lots of people, the rules were confusing. Lots of people were going out and meeting friends and going for walks or having a barbecue at someone's house because the rules were very confusing. So with Partygate, you can kind of excuse it a little bit because the rules were so convoluted.
They were setting the ruls.
They were setting the rules, but it was still confusing, apparently even for them. However, with this, there's a reason why footballers are not allowed to put on bets on anything to do with their profession. These people who've allegedly placed these bets, they know, if they've done this, they know what they were doing and they know that what they did was wrong.
So that's why we keep coming back to allegations. These are allegations.
Of course, they're allegations. I don't think the allegations here are worse than Partygate because Partygate was very extensive. Now, I'm very sorry about your mother during the situation there, Jez. Obviously, that's horrible, but I think Partygate was blown out of all proportion. I mean, some, media outlets, newspapers and people who didn't like the Tories got on it in big style, very big style, and I thought it got blown up to something it really wasn't. Rishi Sunak was fined for being in a part of a building he wasn't in, but he paid the £50 fine. What I would say here is, I can't really disagree with JJ about the sleaze inside the Tory government, because somebody actually made a calculated decision. I know something somebody doesn't know. It would be to my advantage to cash in on this. Nobody was trying to cash in on Partygate. Partygate was just a completely dysfunctional Downing Street operation, which was chaotic, which was all over the place. The person in that room didn't know what was going on in that room, and the bloke who went out to get the wine in the suitcase didn't realise what he was going to do with it. It was chaotic. Whereas this was very specific, and quite clearly it was designed to make people enhance themselves through a bit of political knowledge.
Calculated.
Completely calculated.
As we keep saying, these are allegations, there are investigations.
You're so safe, Dawn, you're so safe.
Very clear. It's literally my job. But Rishi Sunak has made it very, very clear. He is very angry about this and investigating and will take very firm action if the allegations are proven. But
JJ's also right about the footballing situation.
Stop saying JJ's right. I'm not happy.
No, what I'm saying is, he is right, but I'm more right. That's why I like to come in, you see what I mean? And there's a Newcastle footballer who's serving a 10-month ban for getting involved in betting. They take it very, very seriously inside football, and they should take this seriously if these allegations prove to need to be investigated.
Under the 2005 Gambling Act, it's a criminal offence to cheat at gambling or enable or assist another to do so. Maximum penalty is 2 years in prison. Who knew? But we have to move on now. If you're trying to escape the madness of politics, I really hope you're not going from Manchester Manchester Airport today because a power cut has, it's chaos at Manchester Airport with all flights from terminals 1 and 2 being cancelled until further notice. And passengers due to travel from those terminals advised not to go to the airport and to stay in touch with their airlines. Oh, God, you know how important holidays are at the moment.
Yeah.
Our GB News reporter, Jack Carson, joins us now from Manchester Airport, I believe. Jack, it sounds horrific. What's going on?
Well, as you mentioned, Dawn, that news that we've had in the last hour from Manchester Airport that all flights from Terminal 1 and 2 are being cancelled until further notice now means that there are hundreds and thousands of passengers within that airport now stranded, wondering actually what happens next. Of course, we know that this power outage that Manchester Airport confirmed to us happened in the early hours of the morning. We know that there was a backup generator which kicked up into place, but there was a difficulty between trying to go back onto the mains network, trying to go to the power generator, and essentially what that did was massively affect the boarding card systems, the baggage screening, and that, as you can imagine, has caused a significant backlog and delay. So people that were arriving, into the later early hours, 4 or 5 in the morning, were actually being met with huge queues of those people and those passengers that couldn't get on their flights from anywhere between 2 and 3 this morning. I've spoken to one stranded passenger who arrived at the airport at 2:45 this morning. He's still here at this location where we are now at the end of the runway, trying to work out actually now how he gets him and his family off the ground and actually away on their holiday. They've tried to rebook a flight, they say, which gets them to their destination at 2 o'clock this morning. But you can imagine, Dawn, trying to balance those young kids and all these delays is quite a problem. A lot of the people that were turning up to the airport early in the early hours this morning had no idea actually that there'd been such a power outage. We've been told by quite a few people that have had those delays that actually there wasn't much help from the airlines and much support about really what exactly to do next. But they are working through this backlog. Manchester Airport apologised for that disruption. Of course, Terminal 3 is believed not to be such affected, but they apparently those passengers should check with their airlines exactly what is happening in terms of whether any of their flights have been affected by delays. But as I was mentioning, in terms of the baggage screening in particular, it does mean that there may well be some flights that take off from this airport without all the correct bags on board, and so now you're going to have that disruption for those people that have managed to get off the ground but maybe get off the ground without their bags in the hold. So a lot of the time it was only that cabin luggage that was being allowed on the flights for those people. Now, arriving passengers as well have also been disrupted because of these power outages. Quite a few flights have had to be diverted to other airports, and so advice there to if you are coming to pick someone up from arrivals, to check because of the lack of space on the runway here with so many flights grounded with all these cancellations.
Jack, it just sounds absolutely horrendous. We'll be keeping in touch with you to see how the situation develops, and hopefully it will start to ease soon. Just to be clear, though, there is power back at those terminals now.
Yes, so there was power back once the power outage had happened because of the backup generators, and the power has now been restored.
So everything's going to start moving, albeit slowly. Jack Carson, thank you so much, and we'll be keeping in touch on that story to let you know what happens and how it develops. Thank you very much, Jack. Now, for all the best analysis and opinion on that story and more, just go to our website, gbnews.com. Now, it's the final week to see how you could win our summer giveaway. Doesn't involve flying from Manchester Airport unless you want it to, of course. It's £15,000 cash and a whole host of goodies. Lines close at 5 o'clock on Friday, so make sure you don't miss out. Here's all the details you need.
It's the final week to see how you could win big this summer. First, there's a totally tax-free £15,000 in cash to make your summer spectacular. Spend that extra cash however you like. You'll also win a brand new iPhone, Apple AirPods, and if that wasn't enough, a £500 voucher to spend at your favourite UK attraction. You have to hurry, as lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats, and £15,000 cash, text WIN to 63232. Text costs £2 minutes plus 1 standard network rate message. You can also enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck. You've got until Friday. What are you waiting for? Give it a go. You've got to be in it to win it. Right, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News Sunday, and there's lots more coming up on today's show. Now, economists have warned Labour's growth plan is doomed without access to EU markets. Is this a warning sign that the UK will rejoin the EU? Oh, God, make it stop. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go too far.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Helen Worth, who of course plays Gail Platt in Coronation Street, is going to leave the soap after an epic 50 years. I'm joined now by another Corrie legend, Charlie Lawson, whose character, of course, Jim McDonald, lived across the cobbles from Gail Platt for many years. Welcome to the show, Charlie. I can see you looking at those images there, and it has to be said, fantastic acting. In 50 years, many of us just grew up with these characters and basically think they're part of our family. Can you shed light on some of your happy memories of the talent of Helen Worth?
We saw each other every day. She was a consummate professional and still is. This initially surprised me, but then I thought about it, and I'm frankly not surprised. Having spoken to certain senior members of the cast over the last period of time, you know, when Helen joined, or even when I joined, there was a cast of 25. I would put another 75 on that now, perhaps. It's a different animal now, totally, you know, 4, 5, 6 episodes a week. When Helen started, it would have been 2. She lives in London. She's not getting any younger. And she's done 50 years, for God's sake. Nobody can ask any more of that. And listen, Helen, look at that wee smile. God bless you, darling. I hope you have a great retirement. The trouble with actors is that we very, very rarely hang our boots up unless the bank balance is full, which it very seldom is. But also, we live for attention. And when you're in the most famous program on the planet, that attention 9 times out of 10 is an extremely good experience.
The People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have said storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians and the media, but it's actually about you. We won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear all sides
as you make your decision in the run-up to polling day.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel. Britain's election channel.
I knew there were going to be trouble with these two. Welcome back to GB News Sunday with me, Dawn Neeson, on your telly, online and on digital radio. Hope you're having a marvellous weekend out there. Now, Keir Starmer is being warned his economic growth plan is doomed without access to EU markets. Leading economists say Labour government will fail to maximise the UK's economic growth if it doesn't drag the country back into EU's single market and customs union. Oh, God. So is this another warning sign that the UK will inevitably rejoin the EU, or is it a Brexiteer fear-mongering? Oh, and by the way, happy Brexit Day to us. Happy Brexit Day. It's, 8 years? 8 years. 8 years to the day that we voted to leave the EU. And we are still talking about it. I still have JJ and Mike with me. Lucky me. Hey. So who wants to go first on this one, eh? I think you went first last time, Mike, didn't you? Because you basically shot me down in flames.
Yes.
JJ. Happy Brexit Day.
Yeah, happy Brexit Day. Look, 56% of voters say Brexit was bad for the economy. It probably was bad for the economy. It probably was. But just to presume that we can just jump back in, Starmer becomes Prime Minister, it's almost a given, almost a certainty. To presume that we can just go straight back into the EU, the EU aren't just going to take us back. It's not a case of, cool, here you come, bring back the Brits. It's not going to happen.
Vote JJ. You've seen, actually, the big problem, hasn't he, Mike, with us going anywhere near, cap in hand, back to the EU. What are they going to say?
Well, they're going to charge us a lot more to get back than it cost us to come out. The problem with Brexit is it's so highly political, nobody ever looks at the facts and assesses it. So, for instance, if I tell you, since we left the EU's economic area 2020, our hourly productivity has grown faster than the Eurozone, and according to the OECD, very respected body, our overall economy has grown faster than that of France or Germany, and there's no reason to think that that won't keep going on. Our goods imports from the EU have actually gone up faster than those from elsewhere in the world, because we have done deals with countries since we came out of Brexit, and we've done deals around the world with Commonwealth countries, with Pacific countries. I think, honestly, it's of financial benefit to us, and I think the facts are there to prove that.
Our GDP decreases year on year by 4% because of Brexit. That's also proven.
Who told you that, JJ? Who told you that?
The OBR, mate.
Honestly,
the OBR.
A guy goes on to a TV show 2 years ago and says, oh, the economy's hit 4% each year. I've never seen the facts to back that up, never.
Well, the OBR, listen, I'll go by what the OBR say, and that's what they say. That's what they say, 4% each year is a decrease because of Brexit.
Why is our economy growing faster than Germany and France?
Listen, forget that for a second. Let's talk about these great deals you say we've done. Liz Truss did a deal with Australia and New Zealand to bring in their lamb to this country, which actually ruins our farmers. Our farmers are being undercut. Our farmers, who are the backbone of this country, are suffering because of deals that we have to do now with other countries because we left the EU. That's no good. When we are making our own people poorer, we're cutting off an spite our face, Mike. That is the case.
It's a question of restructuring the whole of our trade deals around the world. That was never going to happen in the first 12 or 18 months. It's going to happen over 20 years. Fishing is a...
Oh, 20 years!
Fishing... Well, of course it is.
Tell Farmer McGregor, it's all right, mate, don't pay for your bills now. We'll take your farm, mate, you lose your land, but in 20 years, we'll be doing much better. That's no good for them now, is it?
And look at the fishing industry as well. We already control more of our waters now than we did when we were in the European Union, OK? And in 18 months' time, providing the incoming Labour government doesn't slash it, we'll own even more of our waters and be more in a bigger position to sell our fish around the world and be a major trading partner.
People in this country cannot wait for 20 years. It's no good saying, don't worry, in 20 years' time, we're going to be prosperous.
Did you think it was going to change overnight?
Yeah, I did. I did. I did. I genuinely did. Well, that's what I did. I voted to leave because I thought it was going to be better for the country. So far, it's been worse off for the country. I regret voting to leave.
Would you vote to go back now?
I would vote
if you were given a second referendum, would you vote to rejoin the EU?
Absolutely, I'd vote to rejoin the EU.
Even though you know you're going to get a worse deal because they are not going to accept us going back on a better terms.
They're going to be punitive to us.
If it means that British people are going to do slightly better than we're doing currently, I would go back in a heartbeat. There's too many people in this country who are suffering because of Brexit.
No, I would never want to go back into an organisation that doesn't have the power to elect people to run that organisation. The people who run it are just appointed, and they're faceless people who get up in the middle of the night and try and destroy British laws.
You're right.
So I don't want that.
Who voted for Sunak? Who put Sunak in power? Was that the British people?
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. Sunak jumped in after Truss was booted.
You can't put the European leaders into power.
Who put Truss in power?
Those guys are faceless
Did we vote for Liz Truss? We didn't vote for Liz Truss. We didn't vote for Sunak.
We get a chance to
vote. We get a chance to vote on July 4th. Granted, but we didn't vote for our last two prime ministers.
But that's part of our political process.
Well, that's part of being in the EU, Mike.
We didn't vote for Gordon Brown, OK? And he managed to smash the country up pretty badly.
No, he did OK.
Yes, he did.
He did better than Sunak and Truss.
As much as I hate to interrupt this brilliant
yes, please
debate...
don't interrupt.
Quiet, Dom.
Okay, sorry, I'm just a girl sitting in the middle. You know, trying my best to look pretty feminist. But I am going to go to someone that's actually much prettier in any case. We're running out of time. I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News Sunday. These two are not going anywhere, but Tatiana, keeping Tatiana waiting, is waiting with your headlines. Here she is.
Dawn, thank you very much. The top stories this hour. A fourth Conservative is reportedly being looked into by the Gambling Commission over bets allegedly placed on the date of the general election. The Conservative Party's Chief Data Officer, Nick Mason, has taken a leave of absence. That's according to reports amid claims he placed bets on the timing of the election. The Tories' Director of Campaigns, Tony Lee, and his wife, Laura Saunders, are also being probed, as is the Prime Minister's Parliamentary Private Secretary, Craig Williams, who's admitted to an error of judgment. The Labour leader has suggested that benefits offer less dignity to people than earning a living through work. Sir Keir Starmer took aim at handouts from the state in a piece for the Sunday Telegraph. His changed stance on welfare comes as the latest Savanta opinion poll in the Telegraph newspaper shows Labour retaining its electoral lead over the Conservatives. The poll has Labour on 42% of the vote and the Conservatives on 19%. A search operation in Tenerife for a missing British teenager has entered its 7th day. Jay Slater went missing after he travelled for a music festival to the Spanish island on what was his first holiday without his parents. His mother issued a direct plea yesterday saying, "We just need you home." Just before he went missing on Monday morning, 19-year-old Jay called a friend saying he was lost and needed water. A yellow heat health alert has been issued for most of England as temperatures are set to hit 30 degrees in parts of the country. The alert, issued jointly by the UK Health Security Agency and the Met Office, comes into force from tomorrow morning and remains in place until late Thursday afternoon. Areas affected are the South East, with the strongest warnings issued for that region, the East Midlands, the East of England and East Anglia. And Andy Murray will not play at Wimbledon this year after undergoing surgery on a spinal cyst. That news coming to us from the ATP Tour. The 37-year-old three-time Grand Slam champion was hoping to make a farewell appearance at the tournament this summer, but went under the knife today after withdrawing from his second-round match against Jordan Thompson at Queen's earlier this week. For the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen, or you can go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now back to Dawn.
Thank you, Tatiana. And my gentlemen panellists would like to apologise for keeping you waiting. No, they didn't actually, but hey. Remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're talking about today by visiting gbnews.com/your say and join the conversation, or message me, I keep on saying massage me, on our socials. We're at GB News. Sunday. Lots more coming up on today's show. Now, almost half of young workers believe showing up 10 minutes late for work is as good as being on time. So is Britain losing its work ethic? You're going to love this one. All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, and you really don't want to miss what's coming up next, so don't go too far.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another fine summer's day for most of us, but there is some lingering cloud out there, particularly around southwestern parts, and some of that could stick around through much of the day. Otherwise, we've got this ridge of high pressure bringing settled and sunny summer conditions for the vast majority. In fact, the best of the sunshine is across Scotland, Northern England, parts of North Wales through the afternoon. And it's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine with temperatures a little higher compared with most of the summer so far. But towards the south and southwest, there is some lingering cloud, even some mistiness around a few of the beaches, and that will suppress temperatures 15 to 18 Celsius. In the sunnier spots, though, in the south east, it's going to be 24, 25 Celsius. Even into the evening, those temperatures staying up into the mid-20s. And further north, perfectly fine end to Sunday. Plenty of blue skies out there and 19 to 21 Celsius expected. Now, the breeze will freshen up across parts of western Scotland later, and as you can see, there is some cloud awaiting. That's a weak weather front that will just drift its way eastwards and could bring some light and patchy outbreaks of rain to the Western Isles and then later western parts of Northern Ireland. Really no big deal, though. It's just going to be an increasingly breezy and cloudy picture here overnight. Elsewhere, clear spells coming and going, but still some cloud across southern parts and some mist around some of the coasts of southwest England once again. It's going to be a mild night, though, in some parts of central and southern England. Temperatures won't drop below 15 or 16 Celsius. Then a bright start for the vast majority, but again, a lot of cloud across central and southern parts. That will tend to clear through the day and allow temperatures to reach 28 Celsius.
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
On election night, we are throwing a party.
The GB News Election Night Watch Party will be live from Essex and you are all invited.
On air from 10 o'clock, we'll have familiar faces from across the channel, entertainment and lots more stuff as we keep our eye on all the results as they come flying in.
If you want to join our live Election Night Watch Party audience, scan the QR code on screen or go to gbnews.com/election party.
Welcome back to GB News. Pay attention, gentlemen. Welcome back to GB News Sunday with me, Dawn Neeson, on your TV, online and on digital radio with a very, very frisky panel, it has to be said. But they aren't... Well, you might be slightly friskier than him, but I mean, now, but they aren't. What they aren't doing is losing their work ethic, because evidently Britain is. Despite there being almost 904,000 job vacancies in the UK, some employers are struggling with skill shortages, having given up on trying to hire British workers. An advisor at the Institute of Directors, a group of senior business leaders, told the Telegraph one of our members said they had 200 applications for one job, but only one was from a British national. They approached the person and then they didn't even hear back. I mean, so come on, what is going on? Do Brits have a problem when it comes to work ethic? Mike Parry, I can hear you literally nodding along. You're nodding so hard.
Look, the world has definitely changed from my day. When I was a young reporter, I worked at a petrol station at the weekends and a bar 2 nights a week. I was saving up for my first car, a Vauxhall Viva, which cost me £330, OK? So I was working literally 24 hours a day. Now, the problem is, I think society has now got so comfortable and so wealthy, young people do not have that desperate desire anymore. In fact, I know some young people who literally seem to think that it'll come overnight if they keep looking at their laptops and look around the internet, fame will suddenly descend upon them. But the idea of applying yourself to a 9-to-5 job and then maybe doing other hours and building a career because they want instant reward. You know, the idea of doing 10 years as a lawyer or an accountant or something like that is honestly anathema to a lot of young people. And I'm not putting young people down. What I'm saying is that the way I approached life and you approach life, Dawn, and JJ, you're a bit younger, but I'm sure you probably did as well.
Absolutely.
Is not the way that young people today approach life. They don't believe you should work yourself to the bone to produce a cost of living and a standard of living, and also
it's particularly prevalent amongst middle-class families whose parents now, in my view, do far too much to support their children. I know one person who's 32, never had a job in his life, and his mother is still paying his mobile phone bill, right? And every time a new venture collapses, back home, and he's got a bed at home, and absolutely no problem. There's no motivation there.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Mike, Dawn. He's bang on. He's bang on the money there.
All right, is that one over?
Gen Z, OK? Gen Z are a big problem here, and they've got two issues. One, if they've got soft parents, our parents would not have said to us, oh, you can do whatever you want. Oh, everyone gets a medal. So don't worry about competing. Everyone wins. No. Our parents would have told us, you work hard, you go to education, and that's how you get promoted. You want to work extra hours at work, that's how your boss notices that you're good, right? These kids today from their parents are being told, you can do anything you want. Oh, sorry, sweetie, your mental health is at risk. Then you can't work today. You want to have a sick day? Then have a sick day. The parents have ruined them. And then also, they've been raised in a generation of social media and Uber Eats and Deliveroo. Everything's instant for them. When we were kids, you want to order a taxi for a night out, you book it early in the day, and you've got to be at the specific spot to get that cab. Now, go on your phone, cab's instant. You want takeaway? Go on your phone, it's instant. Everything is now.
The whole mental approach to work from a young person is completely alien to me. So I'm not attacking them saying you're a bad person, I'm a good person. The way they've come up, for instance, in a restaurant recently, I ordered a pizza and I complained there was nothing to cut it with. There was literally nothing to cut it with, not a knife or anything. So I said to the young lady, can you get me one of those roller cutters, please? And she looked at me, you know, what for? Well, to cut my pizza up, you know. She went away, and then the manageress came over, who wasn't much older than this young lady, I would say mid-25, and said, you've spoken too harshly to my waitress. Honest to God, hear the story out.
This is it.
You've spoken to... I said, no, I didn't. Luckily, I was dining with my sister, so I had a witness, and who said, what are you talking about? Anyway, it got to the point where we're not serving you now. Eventually, luckily, the owner of the restaurant, it was a Surrey pub restaurant, he lived next door, and he had to come in and sort it out. But afterwards, I spoke to him, and he said, it happens all the time.
They can't take criticism.
The sense of entitlement in the job, and everything's got to be right. You know?
I might be slightly older than the generation you're talking about, and slightly, by the way. But in their defence, they haven't had it easy.
Well, you said about the pandemic.
They certainly have.
You can say the pandemic, so you're going to say. We all went through the pandemic. We went through that, not just them.
We weren't going through our formative years. We weren't going through education. We weren't developing relationships and friendships.
So,
they were stopped from
18 months of lockdown has made them soft. That's what you're saying. Blame on the pandemic.
What they would say.
That's no better than saying, Brexit's to blame. Brexit's to blame then.
There might be something in that.
There's been a massive expansion of the middle classes in this country in the last 25, 30 years. Started with the economic boom from Thatcher, baby boomers, got more, and just became soft towards their children. It might have something to do with the fact that, you know, as a baby boomer, I had it pretty hard. My dad had come out of the war, you know, grown up in a council house and all that kind of stuff. You want to give more to your children, fine. But I do think parents are abandoning their children unless they give them the idea you've got to stand on your own 2 feet at some point.
JJ, you've got a gorgeous little boy. I mean, obviously he's not old enough to be going out to work yet, although chimneys are still available. I mean, you're going to bring him up how you were brought up by the sounds of it then.
Absolutely.
So what do we do now with this generation that don't seem to be as, you know, had the same work ethic as some of us did?
Well, thankfully, they'll be surpassed soon. This generation of kids we've got currently, that from age 25 to 16, those people are never going to become managers. They're never going to make it to that level.
Oh, wow.
They'll stay at the level they're at because they don't want to work hard. They don't want to put in extra hours. They think it's okay. They would look at us and they'd say, no, you're wasting your life. Why are you working extra hard for? You want to be more relaxed, more chill. No. So those people are going to stay just coasting through. They will never achieve anything. Very few of them will achieve anything. And there's nothing. They are gone. That generation is ruined. I blame the parents and I blame social media. But the next generation after that, my kid is that next generation. They're being raised by people like us. They will be okay.
It's almost cyclical then, basically. They will learn from this generation.
What I also feel sorry for about these younger people is they don't know about the joy of achieving. They don't know about the joy of doing work. I, at 13, got a newspaper round. For the first time in my life, I had independent money. I didn't have to rely on my dad for pocket money. I could do what I want, go and buy my FX kits and all that kind of stuff. They don't know the sheer joy of earning your own dosh and having your independence.
But I'm going to earn my own dosh now by telling you to be quiet, both of you, because we've run out of time. I'm sorry. I know, they're very good, aren't they? I'm Dawn Neeson, still Dawn Neeson, unbelievable. This is GB News Sunday, there's loads more coming up on today's show. Now, this is another cracker. One university had been given more than £1 million to investigate how to decolonise folk music. So is folk music too white? All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel, and we have got a cracking debate coming up that you really don't want to miss, so don't go too far. See you soon.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Recent polling suggests dentistry has become the hardest NHS service for patients to access, within NHS treatments still 15% lower than pre-pandemic levels. So a YouGov survey reveals that more than 70% of Brits describe seeing the dentist as difficult, compared with 64% for GPs and 42% for A&E services. One British man, get this, he even took to flying 10,000 miles for dental care, saying the extra time and money spent was far less hassle than trying to get an appointment on the NHS. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. And a shocking 1/5 of UK adults have also admitted to trying DIY dentistry, including the old trick of tying string around a wobbly tooth and slamming it in the door so it comes out. So, should people be more careful when taking their teeth into their own hands?
That is one of the problems. Obviously, population growth makes it much more difficult for people to access NHS services, but they need to then catch up on the other side with dental services and increase the amount of dentists and access to dentistry, and especially NHS dentistry, obviously.
What's the cut-off age for free dentistry on the NHS?
So it is 18 years old, but there are exemptions around maternity, pregnancy. There's some free care around pregnancy.
We saw some data a few weeks back about the number one cause for child admission into A&E is tooth decay. I mean, that was shocking when I read it.
It's really bad, and what happens is people, kids with multiple decayed teeth, they basically have to be put under general anaesthetic, and then all those rotted teeth have to be extracted under general anaesthetic. Like, if those baby teeth start going crooked, then the adult teeth start going crooked as well. Right. So it is important to look after the baby teeth. It's really important. I think they should make it more central to their policies, definitely.
The People's Channel.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians and the media, but it's actually about you. We won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear all sides
as you make your decision in the run-up to polling day.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel. Britain's election channel.
On election night, we are throwing a party.
The GB News Election Night Watch Party will be live from Essex, and you are all invited.
On air from 10 o'clock, we'll have familiar faces from across the channel, entertainment and lots more stuff as we keep our eye on all the results as they come flying in.
If you want to join our live Election Night Watch Party audience, scan the QR code on screen or go to gbnews.com/election party.
Lordy, lordy. Hello, welcome back to GB News Sunday with me, Dawn Neeson, on your telly, online and on digital radio. Now, I love this story. Is folk music too white-centric? The University of Sheffield has been given £1.5 million of your money to look into the white centricity of folk music, investigate how to decolonise the art form. The researchers say they will take an unflinching look at the white centricity of folk music repertory performers, and there's a lot of long words in this, and audience conducting fieldwork to shed light on long-standing vernacular singing practice. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, language. Dawn, sorry, I would apologise for that. But universities use such long language. Basically, Sheffield University been given £1.5 million of money to look into whether folk music, which was pretty much invented by white folk back in the day, is too white. JJ, is reggae too black? I mean, you know, how much money do you want to look into this one?
This is mental. University of Sheffield should be hanging their heads in shame. £1.5 million.
What a waste of money.
This is why these universities have got to fill their accommodation with foreign students to pay for this kind of ridiculousness. It's absolutely ridiculous. OK, folk music, it's not mainstream. It's essentially, it's an ethnic type of music, mostly for white people. We wouldn't need to invest £1.5 million into look, is black hip-hop music, is that too black?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't do the same. It's ridiculous. It's a cultural thing.
I agree. That clip that we've shown a couple of times now is taken in Leadenhall Market in East London.
Right? Yeah, if you're talking about it was
you won't find anywhere more multicultural than Leadenhall Market, you know, because it's a big part of London, and all the crowds seem to be enjoying it. I've been to lots of places where the old Morris men have suddenly turned up, you know, smashing the canes and the bells and all that kind of stuff in multicultural pubs, you know, because they are all over this country. And I've never seen anybody protest about, you know, any alleged, you know, too white and all that. And the other thing I would say is, and if we had a, you know, leader of a Morris men group here now, do they bar black people from joining the Morris men? Of course they don't.
No.
Anybody can join whenever they want. But I think you'll find the natural instincts of some people is to go for, like you say, hip-hop or reggae.
Something more mainstream.
But people who live in little villages in the country where there isn't necessarily a great diverse group of people living there like to do the Morris men thing. And I would support them. It's part of British culture.
Absolutely. I mean, personally speaking, I'm not going to join a Morris dancing group or a folk singing group. It ain't my interest. However, you're right.
I can actually see you in that outfit with the bells, you know? I can't really see you.
If they turned up in my council estate in Hackney, no one would be like, get out of here, it's too white. No one would care. People are like, oh, this is entertaining.
It's a part of culture I've never seen before.
Precisely.
Would you think it links into what you're talking about before, about young folk being wrapped in cotton wool and not being in the real world?
Yeah.
But do you think, sort of like, you know, this navel-gazing is being done in our academic, institutions, but ordinary people on the street are going...
Well, you see, JJ said earlier, the waste money and all that. Who at Sheffield University suddenly decided that this was an issue that needs investigating? And we're going to spend £500,000 on it? I mean, somebody there has got a job that is not necessary.
My job is necessary. I've got to go. I've got to go. Honestly, we're running out of time. Oh, my God, these two are so brilliant. But the most important thing this afternoon is what the weather is doing for you. Let's have a look. And here's Aidan with all the details. Enjoy.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome along to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A perfect summer's day out there for most of us, but there is some patchy cloud about, and later on it's going to turn a bit breezy and cloudy across the far northwest as this frontal system approaches. Otherwise, a ridge of high pressure for the vast majority, bringing settled summery conditions and plenty of sunshine, the best of the sunshine through the evening across northern and central parts of the UK. We've still got some cloud lingering around southwestern parts, and that may well thicken through the night with some mist around coasts. But where we've got the clear spells elsewhere, well, temperatures actually staying up, 14, 15, perhaps 16 Celsius, a muggy night in places, especially across central and southeastern parts. And for western Scotland, thickening cloud, outbreaks of rain and drizzle through the nights with a freshening breeze. So it's a gloomy start, a damp start here, whilst for central and eastern Scotland, southern Scotland, as well as for parts of northern England, a sunny start. Northern Ireland also seeing some patchy rain, a few light showers, those showers tending to fizzle out through the morning. But for much of the rest of England into Wales, it's sunny skies to start on Monday. However, we do still have some of that low cloud affecting southwestern areas, particularly around the coast, with some mist in places. Now, through the day, many places just seeing fine weather continuing with plenty of warm sunshine. There will be some areas of cloud still remaining across central parts, and western Scotland seeing some drizzle at times. But where we get the sunshine, in the southeast, up to 28 Celsius, with the warmest day of the year so far. Now, Monday evening brings further cloud and some outbreaks of rain, along with a strengthening breeze across the west of Scotland. Otherwise, for the vast majority, as we go through the middle of the week, it's going to stay sunny and increasingly hot, temperatures reaching 30 Celsius in places.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Thank you very much, Aidan. Now, just before we move on, a professor of music at the University of Sheffield, going back to the previous story, has said, our research highlights the different under-recognised communities who have helped establish cultural life in England. Our aim is to break down the barriers for people to get involved in folk music. OK, lots more coming up in today's show. Stay tuned. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, Britain's news channel, and you don't want to go too far because it's going to get even hotter.
It's the final week to see how you could win big this summer. First, there's a fabulous £15,000 in tax-free cash to ensure this summer is special. What would you spend that on? Next, you'll also receive the latest iPhone 15 and a set of Apple AirPods. And finally, £500 to spend at your favourite UK attraction. You have to hurry, as lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Almost half of those seeking to have an affair are happier with their job than with their primary relationship. But what exactly does a cheater do for a living?
Well, medical assistants and nurses, surprisingly, top the lists of professions for female cheaters, and it's jobs in IT or tech for male cheaters, which I think is less of a surprise.
No.
This is all according to a survey by the dating site Ashley Madison.
OK, so why do people cheat? To answer this, we're joined now by broadcaster and psychotherapist Lucy Beresford. Good morning, Lucy.
Morning, Lucy.
So, is it OK of me to say naughty nurses in this day and age? Am I going to get cancelled for that?
You're out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Been
Gone.
cancelled.
See ya.
There's the door.
But yes, you're talking about the caring professions, and I think it's very appropriate.
Surprised by that.
Women, well, because they're very nurturing, very loving, very giving, whereas the males who are in tech and IT, very strategic.
Is there a link between high-pressure jobs, maybe nurses infamously, you know, they're working long hours, underpaid, stressed out? Is there a link between jobs of that nature and cheating, maybe as a relief?
Absolutely. Is it just about sex? Or is it about emotional connection? Is it about emotional validation? And increasingly, people are discovering that their primary relationship is just not a place where they feel safe.
This survey found that personality didn't actually come into it that much. It was about half and half if you're an introvert or an extrovert that you'd be likely to have an affair.
I think that's right. And I think that just speaks to the fact that all people want to have a good emotional connection. So it doesn't matter whether you're really social or whether you're someone who has to recharge your batteries in private time, that actually we only ever want three things in life. We want to feel safe, we want to feel loved, but we also want to feel heard. And in increasingly a number of marriages and long-term relationships, we get into grooves, we get into ruts, and we stop hearing our partner, we stop listening to them, and they stop listening to us.
The People's Channel.
Hello out there, welcome to GB News Sunday. Thank you for joining us this lunchtime. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend out there. I'm Dawn Neeson. With the next hour, cracking hour we've got coming up, I'm keeping you company on TV, online and on digital radio. So, coming up, Sir Keir Starmer says benefits offer less dignity to people than earning a living through work, taking aim at handouts from the state, sounding more Tory by the day. What do you make of that? And then this is a horrible story, a power cut has caused chaos at Manchester Airport with all flights from Terminals 1 and 2 cancelled. We'll be bringing you up to date on that breaking story. And Dame Emma Thompson has shown her support for Just Stop Oil. But is the jet-setting star being slightly hypocritical? But this show is nothing without you and your views. So let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're talking about, or anything you want to have a chat about, basically. Just visit gbnews.com/your say and join the conversation, or message me on our socials at GB News. But first, it is those news headlines with Tatiana.
Dawn, thank you and good afternoon. The top stories this hour. Home Secretary James Cleverly says it's inappropriate for party officials to have benefited from using inside information to bet on the timing of the general election. The Conservative Party's Chief Data Officer, Nick Mason, has taken a leave of absence, according to reports. That's amid claims he gambled on the polling day date. The Tories' Director of Campaigns, Tony Lee, and his wife, Laura Saunders, are also being probed, as is the Prime Minister's Parliamentary Private Secretary, Craig Williams, who's admitted to an error of judgment. Cleverly says he shares the Prime Minister's views on the betting scandal.
My view has always been the case that people in government should focus on delivering for the people of this country. People who are officials of the party should be focused on returning as many Conservative MPs as possible so we can form a government so that we can serve the British people. And anything other than that is inappropriate.
The Labour leader has suggested that benefits offer less dignity to people than earning a living through work. Sir Keir Starmer took aim at handouts from the state in a piece for the Sunday Telegraph. He added serving the interests of working people means understanding they want success more than state support. His changed stance on welfare comes as the latest Savanta opinion poll in the Telegraph newspaper shows Labour retaining its electoral lead over the Conservatives. The poll has Labour on 42% of the vote and the Conservatives on 19%. But Shadow Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson says that it's going to be closer than people think.
Know that there are, a significant proportion of voters who haven't made their minds up, and in 175 seats, different polling points to the fact that those seats are just too close to call, so they could go either way. Right. It could well be a couple of hundred votes in either direction that could shape the outcome of that. And I'd just say if people want to turn a page on all the chaos and division that we've had over the last 14 years, then they have to vote for it. They have to make it happen. It's not enough just to will it.
All flights from 2 Manchester airport terminals have been cancelled after a major power cut. It's caused huge queues and disruption to baggage processing. It's understood the power issue has also affected a number of other buildings close to the airport. Manchester Airport has said all flights from Terminals 1 and 2 are being cancelled until further notice. And passengers due to travel from those terminals are advised not to come to the airport and to stay in touch with their airlines. GB News spoke to an affected passenger who says passengers were left in the dark for hours.
Well, we arrived and there was no disruption to start with. We were all queuing up. It were queuing up outside car park, and we went in and they said, you're just in a holding pen basically until we can get these further flights in first moved. But then no changed, and we were there for about 5 or 6 hours, just stood in terminal building, and we never moved.
What time did you arrive this morning?
2:45 in the morning, and we were there. I don't think they told us until what we were doing until about 10 or something like that, wasn't it? About 9:30 or something like that, when they cancelled flights.
Search teams attempting to locate British teenager Jay Slater have narrowed their efforts on small buildings close to where his phone last pinged in Tenerife. Jay Slater went missing a week ago after he attended a music festival on the Spanish island. It was his first holiday without his parents. His mother issued a direct plea yesterday saying, "We just need you home." Those conducting the searches today could be seen looking into blue barrels outside one of the small buildings. Just before Jay went missing on Monday, the 19-year-old called a friend saying he was lost and needed water. In other news, Scotland are getting ready to take on Hungary in their final Group A game of the Euros football tournament this evening. Thousands of Scottish fans are getting into the mood in Germany, singing their way into tonight's game. And not even rain can dampen the Tartan Army's spirits. And for good reason, as Scotland's clash with Hungary could see their team reach the knockout stage of a major tournament for the first time. Critics didn't give the injury-hit Scots much of a hope after their 5-1 opening thrashing by host Germany in Munich. But a 1-1 draw with the Swiss has placed them within reach of qualification. And some not so good news for tennis fans, as Andy Murray will not play at Wimbledon this year. That's after undergoing surgery on a spinal cyst. The 37-year-old three-time Grand Slam champion was hoping to make a farewell appearance at the tournament this summer. But the Scot went under the knife today after withdrawing from his second-round match against Jordan Thompson at Queen's earlier this week. Murray has suffered from back injuries in the past, having undergone surgery in 2013. For the latest stories, you can sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen, or you can go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now back to the lovely Dawn.
Oh, and about two.
Oh, thank you much. Very lovely, Tatiana. I love you more. Look, it's a Sunday. We can do this girl thing, right? It's bonding. OK, right, let's get stuck into today's stories. I've got two men champing at the bit here to get involved in these debates. Right, now, as you've been hearing in the headlines, the Labour leader has suggested that benefits offer less dignity to people than earning a living through work. In a piece for the Sunday Telegraph, Sir Keir Starmer took aim at handouts from the state, saying serving the interests of working people means understanding they want success more than state support. Blimey, is he right? Well, joining me now to a deep dive, as we say these days, into this one is GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, if I'd have heard this from a Conservative leader, I wouldn't be surprised, but this is a Labour leader saying this? Benefits Britain, get off your backsides, go and get a job.
Yes, indeed. This is Sir Keir Starmer. He's written a piece in the Sunday Telegraph today saying that he's going to put wealth creation front and centre and talking about the value of work and also benefits. It sounds like Labour are toughening up their line on welfare benefits, which of course have absolutely rocketed since the pandemic. The welfare bill is increasingly unsustainable as it is, and it's estimated that it's going to rise by £20 billion by 2030. The number of people claiming out of work benefits for long-term sickness, etc., is going up very, very substantially. It's costing a fortune, and some 20% of cities like Glasgow, Blackpool, Liverpool, etc., are on working age benefits. So they need to do something. The Conservatives are already toughening up their rules, and it sounds like Sir Keir Starmer may take a leaf out of their book. Now, he's spoken and he said that handouts from the state do not nurture the same sense of self-reliant dignity as a fair wage. Now, although this is obviously an appeal to Conservative voters, many of whom do seem like they are going to vote Labour or possibly Reform, but not Conservative. So this will appeal to them, but I think also it's going to really annoy quite a lot of people on the left, whether that's voters or some members of his own party, because he's coming in for a lot of criticism already over the fact that the two-child benefit cap that George Osborne introduced a few years ago, Labour have said that they would like to get rid of it, that basically they cannot afford to do so. Now, that has infuriated many people on the left that say this is a real cause of child poverty. So I think this sort of language will certainly go down well with some, but it's going to really annoy some people on the left.
Pictures of Sir Keir Starmer there with Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor. What we haven't seen is pictures of him with Angela Rayner. Now, this sort of announcement and policy is not going to go down with Angela Rayner, who is his deputy, because she is more to the left of the party. She doesn't exactly hide it, does she? And she's going to think this sounds too Tory.
Well, she might well. And Angela Rayner, as we've seen, is something of a free spirit. He tried to demote her just a couple of years ago. And in fact, not only did he not succeed in demoting her, she came out with a whole load of new titles. And also, she's not sort of willing to toe the party line if it doesn't suit her. We saw that literally a couple of weeks ago in all the row about Diane Abbott. And she said, well, Diane should be allowed to stand for Labour if she wants to, which was very certainly not the correct line to take at the moment, but at the time. But Angela Rayner is very popular. She appeals to a lot of people, and a lot of people that perhaps aren't that keen on Sir Keir Starmer himself. So it'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall in some of those discussions. Of course, she's got her workers' rights legislation. Now, some say that's been watered down. It will be interesting to see if and when, as looks likely, they get into government, how far they will go on some of those pledges.
Interesting times for us all. Catherine Forster, thank you very much for that. Now, let's see what my marvellous panel make of that. I have the lovely Mike Parry with me still, and the even lovelier, can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that.
Well, actually, no, equally lovely, oh my God, where am I going with this? JJ Anasiobi. Now, as I said to Catherine, if I'd have heard this from a Tory, any Tory over any amount of years, I wouldn't have been surprised. But this is basically Keir Starmer, a Labour leader, saying benefits Britain is broken, get off your backsides, go and get a job.
Yeah.
Is he making sense? Is this what people want to hear?
It might be what people want to hear, but it's absolute drivel if you take this at face value. It's utter drivel.
Oh, okay.
The Sunday Telegraph is the most right-wing newspaper in this country, I think, and I'm really surprised that they just put it on the front, splashed it, and then didn't get more sceptical about questioning what they've read. Only a couple of weeks ago, Sir Keir Starmer said, I'm a socialist. Socialists believe in handouts to people in their country, OK? The welfare state in this country currently stands at £265 billion a year, right? Already we know that more people get handouts from the government in this country than actually contribute to the tax burden, OK? That's the way it works. The other taxes come from business and all that kind of stuff. This is utter drivel. Wasn't it Gordon Brown who invented universal credit? And wasn't universal credit the idea that we'll expand the number of people in this country by millions who get a handout from the government rather than having to get their money from their employer? I mean, the whole Labour philosophy is to bring more and more people into the public sector and to be more reliant on the government, and this is just utter drivel. And anybody who believes it must be mad. I don't believe Keir Starmer on taxes, I don't believe in our relationship with Europe, and I certainly don't believe him on this. He's not going to shrink the state, he's going to try and expand it, and he only do that by giving people more handouts. That's my view.
Really wish you'd sit on the fence, Mike, honestly. You could actually be Keir Starmer yourself. JJ, what do you make of this one?
I think that actually this is the Labour that we need. I'm not a fan of Keir Starmer. I call him Keith because when I type Keir in my phone, autocorrects it to Keith.
Yeah, mine autocorrects it to something more interesting occasionally.
So I'm not a fan of Keith, but there'll be no one more happy to hear this than the working class. As a working class kid, there was nothing more annoying for me growing up as a child than seeing my mum and dad working as many hours as they could possibly fit into the day, and then the neighbour who wasn't working at all getting benefits but had the big TV, their kids had the newest football boots and a PlayStation and an Xbox or whatever else. So the working class will hear this and I'll think, good, it's about time that actually everyone started putting more effort in because we're having to struggle and work. So get these people off benefits. Now, of course, there are people in this country who need benefits and they should still be protected. They still should be helped. I disagree with when he says that giving out handouts will give people less dignity. But I think the problem we have in this country now is that there is less shame. When we were kids...
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, when we were kids, it was like you wanted to work. Your parents wanted to be able to go out and buy their own things rather than having to go and get your gyro or whatever from the government. There's less shame these days about it.
I totally agree. But, Labour believe in the client state. They believe that if they're responsible for people's lives, they've got more control over them and they can redesign society. You're absolutely right about what you say about the shame, but I don't care what anybody says. I know from the life I lead there are groups of people in this country who are very happy to live off the welfare state, who are very happy to take money from the government. Go to any one of a number of pubs that I use on the way to work and back and in town. You see the same people there every day.
On the way to work.
You see the same people there every day. What I'm saying is, if I go in at 1 o'clock after I've done a morning job, or I go in at 7 o'clock at night after an afternoon job, the same people are there, and you talk to the bar staff and you talk to the landlady, she says, oh, no, they don't work. They literally live off the state, and people always attack me and say, give me evidence and all that. Well, I'm sorry, the evidence is with my own eyes. I know these people exist, and the idea that Labour will row back on that is utter nonsense.
In Keir Starmer's defence, because he's not here to defend himself, Keir, if you want to... or Keith, as we're now calling you, give us a call, you can come on any time. But, he said he is changing Labour. He is moving
He's making them more left-wing.
No.
I'm sorry he is. I'm sorry he is.
No,
I'm sorry he is.
Listen, the people... My problem, the reason I get criticised on social media is because people say to me, I'm not really a Labour person, because my Labour has moved so far left that I now look like I'm a Tory, right? Keir Starmer is not taking the party left. The people who are left on this party, the Corbynite supporters, they are left. Keir Starmer is more... He's too
Keir
close
Starmer did actually support Jeremy Corbyn, by the way.
But he didn't really support him,
what Sir Keir Starmer says and what he's actually... evidence gives us of his history, he's very left-wing. He's been in left-wing Labour lawyers' groups for years. He is very left-wing, honestly.
He's not left-wing enough.
And Dawn, you mentioned Angela Rayner once, OK? Yeah. Now, Angela Rayner is going to promote what she calls working people in this country, you know, and she's going to give them more. Better conditions at work, you know, more benefits, more able to...
one day at work and you've got all the rights.
One day at work, you've got more able to, you know, bring pressure to bear on the employer, who she sees as the antithesis, you know, of a civilised society. I just don't get it. You can't grow the economy if Angela Rayner is going to introduce a whole new raft of red tape, which is going to strangle business.
Just one very quick rant.
OK, the reason that Starmer is going to win the election is because he has convinced those who are more right-leaning that he's the right person for the job. Those of us who are more left-leaning do not see Starmer as being a true Labour leader. I'm afraid he's not.
I understand.
Hey, we have to
Promotes
go.
Thatcher. Promotes Thatcher.
Oh,
so he's a right leader then? He's a right leader?
No, he's a right leader. It's all talk. It's nonsense.
Stop. Blimey. Right, for all the best analysis and opinion on that, even better than these two, go to our website, which is gbnews.com. Now, let's go back up to Manchester to find out what's happening at the airport, with all flights from Terminals 1 and 2 were cancelled until further notice. Passengers due to travel from those terminals are advised not to go to the airport because of the power outage this morning. Our GB News reporter, Jack Carson, joins me now from Manchester Airport to bring us up to date on this story. Jack, how's it going up there? What's happening?
Well, certainly what we've noticed in the last hour since we've been here, Dawn, is just how quiet now the end of this runway is. Of course, we've been here this afternoon, had quite a few, departing planes, arriving planes on this runway, but what we've noticed is just how quiet it now is, with Terminal 1 and 2 now saying at Manchester Airport that all flights for the foreseeable future are now cancelled, and people, as you mentioned, advised not to even come to the airport, to stay in touch with their airline. Now, this power outage was in the early hours of this morning, so quite a long time now since that. It was around 1:32 that there was that problem, which they thought might have well affected a more general area. Thankfully, affected more just of the airport and a few local businesses. But we've spoken to people, who are turning up at 3, 4 in the morning and arriving not actually realising that this power outage had happened. And what's happened really now is this huge backlog of flights, huge backlog of passengers, hundreds stranded within those terminals at the airport, now unable to get away on their holidays and on their business trips. Now, Manchester Airport is the third busiest airport in the country, so you can just imagine the scale now of the disruption that's been caused. We know, and Manchester Airport have confirmed to us, that the main important systems that were affected were boarding cards and baggage screening. They have apologised for that disruption, albeit how much of it is out of their hands, of course, but they have also said that disruption, because of things like the baggage screening, will mean that there will be some passengers on those flights whose baggage could not be loaded, and they'll try to work with those airlines and of course those baggage handlers to reunite their passengers with them. But earlier on we did speak to a stranded passenger, Danny Butcher. Take a listen to what he told us.
Well, we arrived and there was no disruption to start with. We were all queuing up. It were queuing up outside the car park, And we went in and they said, you're just in a holding pen basically until we can get these further flights in first moved. But then no changed, and we were there for about 5 or 6 hours, just stood in terminal building, and we never moved.
What time did you arrive this morning?
2:45 in the morning, and we were there. I don't think they told us until what we were doing until about 10 or something like that, wasn't it? About 9:30 or something like that, when they cancelled flights.
Well, Danny left where we are now about an hour ago to try and catch a flight that he's tried to rebook, but that's of course just an example of some of the disruption. Now, he got it 2:45 in the morning, and still this afternoon he was still stranded. Of course, there are flights that are trying to arrive still into the airport, but again, if you are coming to Manchester Airport to try and get somebody arriving into the airport, do check with the airline, because of how many grounded planes there are and the lack of space that are available because of those flights not coming in and out so much. There have been some arrival flights that have been diverted to other areas, so that is the advice if you are picking up anybody from arrivals. But the power has now been restored, and that backlog starting to be worked through here at Manchester Airport.
Brilliant. Jack Carson live at Manchester Airport there. Thank you very much on the power outage that basically has caused chaos up there. So good luck if you are stuck in there trying to get away on holiday. Much needed, we all know that, or on a business trip even. Good luck to you all. Hopefully it will be sorted out sooner rather than later. Now, if you are trying to get away, this could help you. It's the final week of our summer giveaway. £15,000 cash and a whole host of goodies. Lines close at 5 o'clock on Friday, so make sure you don't miss out. Here's all the details you need to win it.
It's the final week to see how you could win big this summer. First, there's a totally tax-free £15,000 in cash to make your summer spectacular. Spend that extra cash however you like. You'll also win a brand new iPhone, Apple AirPods, and if that wasn't enough, a £500 voucher to spend at your favourite UK attraction. You have to hurry, as lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats, and £15,000 cash, text WIN to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, good luck indeed. What could you do with that? What a great holiday. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News Sunday, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. Now, Dame Emma Thompson has thrown her support behind Just Stop Oil. But is the jet-setting star being just a tad hypocritical here? All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't you dare go too far.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So, question is, what can we do to get young people to eat healthy food? Here's dietitian and nutrition consultant Helen Bond. Helen, what do you think?
Eating habits formed at this age tend to persist into later life. We know we're eating too much fat, sugar, salt, and not enough of the good things like fibre, fruits and vegetables, all of those things. So yes, we need to help this age group so they have the skill set and they have the nutrition knowledge to take that forward.
Do you agree that it is impossible to eat healthily on a budget and quickly as well, or do you have any sort of fail-safe, affordable and very quick to prep meals that you'd recommend youngsters try?
It doesn't have to be expensive either, but you have to have those kind of cost-cutting hacks and those time-saving things in the kitchen. Make use, I always say, of things like peas, beans and lentils, which are a type of pulse, very inexpensive compared to meat, and yet they double up as one of your 5 a day, and also a great source of plant-based protein. If you overget milk as something, you have too much milk, maybe make some lattes.
I just wanted to throw a shoe at the TV, really, because was there nothing else on or nothing else available? The point being, there is an audience, there is obviously an appeal, there's obviously people are watching this stuff. So what are they doing? Are they watching and not cooking?
I think that's it. They're watching and maybe enjoying all the cookery programs like I do. And I'm a typical person in the kitchen. I must have about 100 cookbooks. But sometimes when you are time poor, you know, you've got to feed a family or you've got to feed yourself and everything, you don't really know where to start. And I think that's why apps and having things online for this younger audience makes it much more accessible. Start with one recipe and build it up from there. Like I said,
The People's Channel.
This is GB News and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians in the media, but actually it's about you.
And we won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear
all sides
as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's election channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians in the media, but actually it's about you.
And we won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear
all sides
as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's election channel.
Welcome back to GB News Sunday with me, Dawn Neeson, on your telly, online and on digital radio. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend out there. Now, Dame Emma Thompson has shown her support for Just Stop Oil. The actress led thousands of people on a march in London yesterday, saying she supports anyone who fights this extraordinary battle, climate change she's talking about. But is the jet-setting star being a tad hypocritical? I've still got the lovely JJ and the even more lovely, because I did it the way around earlier on, say it all the time, Mike Parry with me. I know, no hypocrisy here. Now, look, I walked out of here after work yesterday, straight into this march. Someone with flowers in their hair literally shoved a banner in my face saying, "Vote animal." I had no idea how to respond to that, so I thought, polite way not to do it. Now, so what do we make of Dame Emma Thompson, as we know, jet sets around the world, often first class, actually backing Just Stop Oil, even to the extent that what they did to Stonehenge the other day, which most people were really angry about. She said that was to raise awareness. You know, it was needed to be done. What do you reckon,
Listen,
JJ?
I don't want to sound rude here, but I wish Emma Thompson would shut her mouth. The last thing I want is a multi-millionaire telling us how we should be living our lives. She can go on and the protest and say, yes, I support Just Stop Oil. Then she goes back to a £1 million gaff and she goes on a £1 million yachts and does a private jetting around the world. But she'll tell us that we need to stop using oils immediately. No, I've got no time for it. I find her a complete and utter hypocrite.
Mike?
Well, you see, the thing with Emma Thompson, she's an incredibly bright woman. She hasn't just won Oscars for acting, she's won Oscars for writing scripts for, you know, films that have made record amounts of money. So, and of course, I think she went to Cambridge, didn't she? It was either Oxford or Cambridge.
Very bright.
Footlights, a very, very bright woman. So how could a bright woman like that pretend she's supporting a bunch of brainless Burks, because that's all they are.
Yeah.
I don't see Just Stop Oil as anything else except a bunch of...
Just for clarity, but just for clarity before you rant on, it was an Extinction Rebellion march yesterday, but she was asked about Just Stop Oil.
Exactly.
It's all
Exactly. They're all sort of the same group of protesters. You'll find the same people on all the same protests and all that. What I don't understand is that she's bright enough to work out that the idiotic protests like spraying Stonehenge are completely counterproductive to the very serious issue of trying to keep the atmosphere clear, OK? 1% in this country is all that comes out, you know, compared to China at 40%, India 14%, America 20%. I mean, I just can't understand how she insults anybody who listens to what she's saying by saying these just top all people are good. We all know that they're really middle-class people with nothing better to do. And she should not associate herself with them. In my view, she should be on the side of common sense, telling the just top all people, look, I think you should handle it a different way. But again, you've hit on it. The problem with very successful, very rich people is that they don't want anybody to dislike them for their success and their wealth. So it's get down with the protesters. I'm not an evil person. I'm a nice person. I'm down with you. But she makes herself look stupid, allying herself to such idiotic protests.
But, I mean, look, she's not here to defend herself, obviously, but she was spotted jetting to New York in 2019, just days after backing climate protests that brought chaos to London.
Complete
I agree, in a first-class seat. But I don't blame her for that. She should do that. She might have had a meeting in Hollywood for a new film, so get on your plane, get over there. But then don't start complaining about, emissions into the air.
However, I mean, playing devil's advocate again here. Now, Emma Thompson's interview yesterday and the march yesterday has got us talking about the issue again.
Yes, it has.
No, it hasn't.
Surely...
No, it hasn't.
No, JJ?
No, it's got us talking about just stop oil. It's not got us saying, actually, the government should stop drilling for oil.
No, you're absolutely right.
Exactly.
It's got us all saying what a bunch of brainless idiots they all are.
Precisely.
And when are we going to do something about them? There'll be an occasion. It started a couple of years ago, didn't it, when they were getting protesters and dragging them off the roof of tube trains, you know? There will be an explosion of fury against these people on an occasion when something will happen, you know? And if they start attacking things like Stonehenge, that will happen. Well, without doubt, there'll be a kickback, I'm sure.
Right, OK, well, shall we go and get some news headlines with Tatiana? This is GB News Sunday. I'm Dawn Neeson, and here is Tatiana with those very headlines.
Dawn, thank you very much, and good afternoon. The top stories this hour. Home Secretary James Cleverly says it's inappropriate for party officials to have benefited from using inside information to bet on the timing of the general election. The Conservative Party's Chief Data Officer Nick Mason has taken a leave of absence, according to reports, amid claims he gambled on the polling day date. The Tories' Director of Campaigns, Tony Lee, and his wife, Laura Saunders, are also being probed, as is the Prime Minister's Parliamentary Private Secretary, Craig Williams, who's admitted to an error of judgment. Cleverly says he shares the Prime Minister's views on the betting scandal. The Labour leader has suggested that benefits offer less dignity to people than earning a living through work. Sir Keir Starmer took aim at handouts from the state in a piece for the Sunday Telegraph. His changed stance on welfare comes as the latest Savanta opinion poll in the Telegraph newspaper shows Labour retaining its electoral lead over the Conservatives. The poll has Labour on 42% of the votes and the Conservative Party on 19%. Search teams attempting to locate British teenager Jay Slater have narrowed their efforts on small buildings close to where his phone last pinged in Tenerife. Jay Slater went missing a week ago after he attended a music festival on the Spanish island. It was his first holiday without his parents. His mother issued a direct plea yesterday saying, "We just need you home." Those conducting the searches today could be seen looking into blue barrels outside one of the small buildings. Just before he went missing on Monday morning, 19-year-old Jay called a friend saying he was lost and needed water. And Andy Murray will not play at Wimbledon this year after undergoing surgery on a spinal cyst. The 37-year-old three-time Grand Slam champion was hoping to make a farewell appearance at the tournament this summer, but the Scot went under the knife today after withdrawing from his second-round match against Jordan Thompson at Queen's earlier this week. Murray has suffered from back injuries in the past, having undergone surgery in 2013. For the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's back to the wonderful Dawn.
Oh, thank you, double wonderful Tatiana. She is so, so lovely. Honestly, she really is lovely. Now, remember, let me know all your thoughts on, not Tatiana, by the way, I can guess what they are, on the stories we're discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/your say and join the conversation, or message me or Tatiana even on our socials at GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show. Now, Reform leader Nigel Farage, yes, here he is doubling down on his comments about the war in Ukraine after facing a barrage of criticism from other party leaders. We'll debate that and you don't want to miss it. All of that and much more to come. I am still Dawn Neeson, this is still GB News, and we are still Britain's news channel. And you are not going too far, are you? See you soon.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another fine summer's day for most of us, but there is some lingering cloud out there, particularly around southwestern parts, and some of that could stick around through much of the day. Otherwise, we've got this ridge of high pressure bringing settled and sunny summer conditions for the vast majority. In fact, the best of the sunshine is across Scotland, Northern England, parts of North Wales through the afternoon. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine with temperatures a little higher compared with most of the summer so far. But towards the south and southwest, there is some lingering cloud, even some mistiness around a few of the beaches, and that will suppress temperatures 15 to 18 Celsius. In the sunnier spots, though, in the south east, it's going to be 24, 25 Celsius. Even into the evening, those temperatures staying up into the mid-20s. And further north, perfectly fine end to Sunday. Plenty of blue skies out there and 19 to 21 Celsius expected. Now, the breeze will freshen up across parts of western Scotland later, and as you can see, there is some cloud awaiting. That's a weak weather front that will just drift its way eastwards and could bring some light and patchy outbreaks of rain to the Western Isles and then later western parts of Northern Ireland. Really no big deal, though. It's just going to be an increasingly breezy and cloudy picture here overnight. Elsewhere, clear spells coming and going, but still some cloud across southern parts and some mist around some of the coasts of southwest England once again. It's going to be a mild night, though, in some parts of central and southern England. Temperatures won't drop below 15 or 16 Celsius. Then a bright start for the vast majority, but again, a lot of cloud across central and southern parts. That will tend to clear through the day and allow temperatures to reach 28 Celsius.
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
GB News, Britain's election channel.
On election night, we are throwing a party.
The GB News Election Night Watch Party will be live from Essex and you are all invited.
On air from 10 o'clock, we'll have familiar faces from across the channel, entertainment and lots more stuff as we keep our eye on all the results as they come flying in.
If you want to join our live Election Night Watch Party audience, scan the QR code on screen or go to gbnews.com/election party.
Hello and welcome back to GB News Sunday with me, Dawn Neeson, on your telly, on radio and on digital media type stuff all over the place, basically. Quite literally this afternoon is Sunday. Hope you're having a cracking weekend out there. Now, it's not just the Conservatives feeling the heat this weekend. Reform leader Nigel Farage is facing down, doubling down even, his Ukraine-Russian comments after facing a barrage of criticism from other party leaders. Here's a reminder of his interview with Nick Robinson on Friday evening.
We've provoked this war. It's, of course it's his fault.
He's used what
But we provoked the invasion of Ukraine.
Yes, and very interestingly, once again, 10 years ago when I predicted this, by the way, I'm the only person in British politics that predicted what would happen. And of course, everyone said I was a pariah for daring to suggest it. George Robertson, former Labour cabinet minister, who went on to become the Secretary-General of NATO, has in the last couple of weeks said the war is a direct result of EU expansionism.
Now, let's see what my panel make of this one. Everyone on Earth has got an opinion on what Nigel Farage says on Friday night. So, to be fair to the bloke, he certainly knows how to get publicity. JJ, I'm going to come to you first now. I mean, lots of people are very angry about what Nigel said. What do you make of it?
Farage has a habit of saying things that are uncomfortable truths sometimes. I think on this occasion, I agree with the guy. I genuinely do. If you go back to the Soviet Union, where they put missiles in Cuba, the US saw that as an act of war and demanded they remove those missiles from Cuba. Now we have NATO, which analysts have been saying for the last 30 years, analysts have been saying the more NATO expands, the worse it's going to be for our enemies. NATO wants to put their own missiles, US soldiers, along the borders of Russia, and then we expect Putin to not see that as an act of war. All Putin wanted was to keep his borders sovereign. He didn't want to have the US, which for me, NATO is just US's like it's like a balaclava, NATO for the US. The US put on NATO and they say, well, we're not America, we're part of NATO. The US is the biggest funder of NATO. They want to go and be as close to Russia as possible because they want world dominance. So I completely agree with Farage in the sense that we provoked Putin. Should Putin have attacked Russia? Attacked the Ukraine? No, of course not. Should he have taken land from the Ukraine? No. But I've said this before and I'll say it again, the only way this war's going to end is with people sat around a table saying to Putin, OK, we will give you this small part of the Ukraine and we will not allow the Ukraine to join NATO.
Very interesting. I mean, in a Telegraph interview with Nigel Farage today, he goes, I am not and never had been an apologist or supporter of Putin. His invasion of Ukraine was immoral, outrageous, indefensible. So he's not saying, yeah, Putin was right, but he's saying the reasons behind it are maybe a bit more, what's the word? There's no great, nuance. Nuance is the word I'm looking for. That's it, yeah.
But this is so historical that when Nigel Farage comes out with a bland statement like that, we provoked, we being the West, being NATO and the Western powers, I can't agree with it whatsoever. Now, JJ said, I do agree with it. I don't agree with it, and I'll tell you why. Because NATO are not an aggressive organisation, but we know that Russia is an aggressive organisation because they went into Crimea, they went into Georgia, and we didn't stop them, so we should have known that he's not going to stop, he's going to go somewhere else. We had every right then to strengthen the NATO borders, to start sabre-rattling and saying, you go no further. Once we did that, then Putin invoked, what he always invokes is, they're all after us. They're going to come and attack us. They're going to invade us. You've got to remember, and if you read into the history of what Putin's all about, he's the former head of the KGB. And he said the worst day of his life was when the Berlin Wall fell and the Russian Soviet Empire fell apart. He was determined from that moment on to put it back together again. We should have taken that seriously at the start, and we should have been reacting against him since. I also believe, sorry, JJ, just for a minute, that the Ukraine invasion would not have happened if Donald Trump had been in the White House.
Correct.
And when the West have shown weakness, like Obama did in Syria, and like we all did for Ukraine and Georgia, he then got the message, they've got no backbone, I'm going to keep going. And for that reason, I think he's a very, very dangerous man.
You mentioned Obama there. In 2013, 2014, Obama and the US interfered in Ukrainian politics. They helped overthrow a Ukrainian president who was pro-Russia because the Americans and NATO didn't want to have... Yeah, exactly. So they interfered in the politics. That is, again, provoking Putin. The Russians see NATO as a leftover vestige of the Cold War. The fact remains, the Warsaw Pact all of that area, Eastern Europe, they had to break up.
Yeah.
That's part of the Warsaw Pact. However, in the Western world, we're saying, OK, you guys can't band together, but we're going to. And all the propaganda we see on our televisions, every way that we report on the war, it's always in favour of the West. If you go to places like the continent like Africa, where Russia is helping build communities and helping with fight famine, etc.,
and helping to promote the communism of China.
They are, but those countries are benefiting from Russia, and they support Russia. And all they see is the Western world once again trying to control the rest of the world.
But JJ, every Cold War country has gone remarkably anti-Soviet politics since the breakup of the Soviet Empire. Why shouldn't Ukraine have joined them? And why shouldn't Ukraine have had some help from the West, who are non-aggressive? Russia are aggressive. We know that. We are non-aggressive in the West. What we try to do is we try to keep world peace, whereas Putin wants to keep invading countries. And what about the axis of evil? What about China? What about Iran? What about North Korea? To allow him to start building bigger bonds with them is something else we should
China the axis of evil.
Just quick response. We are running out of time.
China the axis of evil, and yet how many billions is the West spending to do business with China? China is basically running our government with all of that, with their technology and their cameras.
They have to, because they're the commercial powerhouse of the world.
So you can't
have to deal with them.
Either they're the bad guys or they're not the bad guys.
I didn't say that. I said the commercial powerhouse of the world. That doesn't mean to say we have to accede to their political ambitions, because they've got huge ambitions.
I think Nigel Farage has a point with what he said.
Well, I think it's too historical.
I genuinely don't want to interrupt this debate, but I have to, because we are running out of time. That was absolutely fascinating. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News Sunday. There's loads more coming up on today's show. Now, why on earth has the V&A Museum in London put out an urgent plea asking for more men to apply for jobs there? Find out all of that, much more to come. GB News, Britain's news channel. Put the kettle on, but don't go too far.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Plenty of mixers, plenty of lovely gin.
Yes.
What have you got here for us? Just explain what you've brought in.
So today I'm going to be presenting the Cotswolds Dry Gin and the Cotswolds Wildflower Gin.
Ooh.
So the first one that was introduced into our market was the Cotswolds Dry Gin. Now we have 9 different types of botanicals. We introduce into our pot still. We introduce well, obviously juniper berries because it's a London dry. Angelica roots and coriander seeds, giving it that little limey flavour. Also, cardamom seeds, then black peppercorn, giving it a little spice.
Ooh.
And then the part that is more interesting that regards to the pouring, we have the grapefruit peel and the lime peel. We're going to start with the Cotswolds Dry. Okay, so the first one introduced.
So Ellie was taking the mick out of me this morning because I said my favourite gin was, what is it, pink lemonade?
You like a pink gin and lemonade, yes.
You called me, I'm going to say what you said. You said that's a bit girly.
As you see, it turned into cloudy. Those are the oils of the spices because we don't filter it. Our gin is completely unfiltered.
Got it.
I love this. It's 11:52. It's never too early. Cheers.
Cheers.
And would you have any, this sounds very juvenile, would you have any snacks with gin? Or does it ruin it?
Olives.
Ah, you can tell your culture.
It depends on how you're drinking it and where you are, like what you're actually going to do with it. Yeah. But you can have pretty much all sorts. As long as it stays on the salty side, that's what I would go for personally.
A salty snack.
Yeah, that's what I would go for.
So olives, would you say, is that a good choice, or crisps, nuts?
They're quite salty olives, aren't they?
It depends on your taste, really. Like personally, I wouldn't go for it, but I have seen. And the culture behind gin is drastically increased over the years. The flavours are all different.
That's really good.
Exactly. You see what I mean?
Oh, very nice.
Like that zesty, floral kind of flavour coming through. They're absolutely stunning, aren't they?
The People's Channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family. Simply go to gbnews.com/your say.
Oh, lordy, lordy. Welcome back to GB News Sunday with me, Dawn Neeson, on your TV, online, I really forgot what it was then, and digital radio. Now, lots of you have been sending your thoughts in. I'm sorry I haven't had time to read any of them out. It's so busy this afternoon. Now, talking of, we were talking about work-shy Brits earlier on, especially the younger generation. And Donald, hi, Donald. Why would you want to work when the government will pay you to sit at home playing video games? Meanwhile, James, on the same subject, says, both my sons went to university to get a master's degree. The older's at Manchester Council Planning Department, the younger's an engineering company in Bolton. My ex and I told them that the hard work is learning and getting qualifications. Nothing wrong with working hard, is there? And finally, Mark, on the topic of the EU, because it's Happy Brexit Day, 8 years. And Mark says, nobody voted to leave the EU for the economy. That was very much secondary. Additionally, Brexit doesn't affect most people in the country at all, especially journalists, OK? As an importer, exporter, I am willing to take the hit and be out. Strong words, Mark. Thank you very much. Interesting. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Right, now, we need more men in our lives, evidently. No, not me personally. Definitely not me personally after today. The Victoria and Albert Museum is trying to hire more men to make their staff more reflective of the general public. According to their diversity and inclusion report, rolling eyes here, for January to March 2024, the museum staff comprised of 74.8% women and 25.2% men. Their diversity target is to increase male representation to 30%. Now, well, I'm outnumbered by men here. I've got more men in this room than little old me. Just a woman in here in the middle. So, we need more men at the V&A. What do you make of this? Diversity and inclusion, JJ?
It's nuts, isn't it? It's ridiculous. I don't get it. If you say to me that men are applying for jobs at the V&A and they're being turned away because they're men, then I say, right, this is an issue. We should be trying to get more men in. But if men aren't interested in working there, what's the problem? Yeah. And also, if they want to make it completely representative of society, aren't we pretty much 50-50 men and women in society?
Yeah.
So they should aim for 50%.
In fact, we slightly outnumber you.
Oh,
we're just over 50%. You're slightly.
So they should make more than 30. This is just nonsense.
It's just social engineering, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, at its worst. You know, somebody's come. It's like the guy from Sheffield University who didn't have anything better to do. Somebody at the V&A, nothing better to do. How many women have got? How many men? I tell you, why don't we balance it off? What benefits will that bring the V&A?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's it's diversity, isn't it? And am I right in thinking George Osborne had something to do with the V&A, or have I got that wrong?
I think you're correct with that.
Was that the British Museum? You know, the one where all the stuff was disappearing out the store. No one knows. That was the one.
Anyway, I apologise to Mr. Osborne if he's nothing to do with it. I mean, all I would say is that the V&A should concentrate on what it does best. It's one of the most famous museums in the world. Yeah. Just keep up the quality of your exhibits and leave the nonsensical social engineering to somebody else. What they don't say in this report is how things would improve if there were more men and less women. They don't say that at all.
They don't understand. No,
so it's just a political bit of nonsense.
I do occasionally frequent the V&A. They've opened one near Stratford as well, I believe.
Yes,
as well.
Yeah, we go up as well, don't we? Yeah.
Which is awesome, but I've never got into a V&A and thought, you know what we need near? More geezers.
That's right, yeah.
I've not stood in there and thought, few too many women in here, guys.
I mean, you could say, for instance, couldn't you, we need more men in primary schools because there is a multiplicity of women and men. And I think, the male role in bringing children up and all that, there's a positive element to that.
Actually, that is a good point, but the V&A...
But what positive element is there to this?
It's not just... And you won't be shocked to hear that it's not just the sex divide they're concerned about. They also said it's aiming for 20% of staff to come from black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds. But currently that number stands at just 17.2%, JJ.
Well, they should take a leaf out of the folk dancers book, shouldn't they? Get those people in there as well.
But again, you ask yourself, if they want to increase it by 1.8% on my maths, is that right?
Yeah,
so increasing the diversity balance by 1.8% will massively improve the V&A.
Yeah.
Go on, tell us how. Tell us how, please.
Well, maybe if you get more men involved, it probably will turn a better profit. If you've got women in charge, it's always going to be a... And I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yes,
I'm joking.
Make that clear.
OK, on that note, I'm going to leave it because I've frankly had enough of men this afternoon. JJ Anisiobi, Mike Parry, you have been true superstars. Thank you so much for joining me. I have been Dawn Neeson. This has been GB News Sunday, but don't go anywhere because there's loads coming up on the channel. Today, in just a moment, it's Fiery Debate with Nana Aquia, and at 6 p.m, it's Neil Oliver with a Free Speech Nation at 7 and Mark Dolan at 9. See? Why would it go? Fan pack shows coming up. But thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I've really enjoyed your company, and thank you. And stay tuned, Nana's up next. But first, it's the weekend, so let's look at the weather. Here's Aidan with your details.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome along to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A perfect summer's day out there for most of us, but there is some patchy cloud about, and later on it's going to turn a bit breezy and cloudy across the far northwest as this frontal system approaches. Otherwise, a ridge of high pressure for the vast majority, bringing settled summery conditions and plenty of sunshine, the best of the sunshine through the evening across northern and central parts of the UK. We've still got some cloud lingering around southwestern parts, and that may well thicken through the night with some mist around coasts. But where we've got the clear spells elsewhere, well, temperatures actually staying up, 14, 15, perhaps 16 Celsius, a muggy night in places, especially across central and southeastern parts. And for western Scotland, thickening cloud, outbreaks of rain and drizzle through the nights with a freshening breeze. So it's a gloomy start, a damp start here, whilst for central and eastern Scotland, southern Scotland, as well as for parts of northern England, a sunny start. Northern Ireland also seeing some patchy rain, a few light showers, those showers tending to fizzle out through the morning. But for much of the rest of England into Wales, it's sunny skies to start on Monday. However, we do still have some of that low cloud affecting southwestern areas, particularly around the coast, with some mist in places. Now, through the day, many places just seeing fine weather continuing with plenty of warm sunshine. There will be some areas of cloud still remaining across central parts, and western Scotland seeing some drizzle at times. But where we get the sunshine, in the southeast, up to 28 Celsius, with the warmest day of the year so far. Now, Monday evening brings further cloud and some outbreaks of rain, along with a strengthening breeze across the west of Scotland. Otherwise, for the vast majority, as we go through the middle of the week, it's going to stay sunny and increasingly hot, temperatures reaching 30 Celsius in places.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win big this summer. First, there's a fabulous £15,000 in tax-free cash to ensure this summer is special. What would you spend that on? Next, you'll also receive the latest iPhone 15 and a set of Apple AirPods. And finally, £500 to spend at your favourite UK attraction. You have to hurry, as lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
On election night, we are throwing a party.
The GB News Election Night Watch Party will be live from Essex and you are all invited.
On air from 10 o'clock, we'll have familiar faces from across the channel, entertainment and lots more stuff as we keep our eye on all the results as they come flying in.
If you want to join our live Election Night Watch Party audience, scan the QR code on screen or go to gbnews.com/election party.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah.